Right, thanks everyone for joining us again for another WKS podcast. This time I'm with Paul from a band called The Viewers. How are you doing?
I'm very well, and you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm really good.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Do you want
Good.
to start off by telling the viewers a bit about sort of how you got into music in the first place?
Well, that was a long time ago. I mean, I'm an old boy now, so it was it was actually my uncle who got me into music to start with, way back when I was about 12 or 13. And he played a bit of fingerstyle sort of folk guitar with a chap called Steve Tilston, who's quite a well-respected folk player. He was based in Bristol, I think, but
Yeah.
plays all over the place. And he had also done some stuff with Ralph McTell. And I was hooked. I just needed to get a guitar straight away. So that was the start of it. And then when I was when I was at school, sort of 16-ish, I joined my first band, which was called The Imports, and they were kind of a punk band right around 76. And then a bit later on, I started to get a bit more serious, and I moved up to Bristol, and I was in I started a band there called Love Among the Ruins, and we got signed, and we had a deal with Phonogram, and we were managed by Larry Page from the Kinks. And it was around about that time that I really, really started to go back to listening to music from the 60s again, because being surrounded by all of that stuff with the Kinks in London, even though it was the 80s and it was kind of like, you know, the time of mullets and everybody singing with deep voices, that love for 60s music started to return, and that's kind of where I've been at ever since. So yeah, I had a good run with Love Among the Ruins, and then gave up to make a living like a normal person and have kids and stuff. Yeah. And then I had a break for about 20 years. And then about 10 or 11 years ago, I started up again and formed The Viewers. And we're just having a great time. We're a bunch of older musicians and we're just having a great time. But we're staying true to the 60s and early 70s roots. We love, all five of us love that stuff. And you can hear it in our music, certainly.
Superb. So how many sort of, and what music's out there? How many albums or CDs have you got out there?
The band has been going for about a decade now, and we've had two lineup changes during that 10 years. So we released our fifth studio album just when the first lockdown hit. Which was unfortunate because that album has been kind of buried a little bit and we weren't able to go out and gig and promote it like we'd normally do. However, some of the tracks from it were good enough that we managed to get masses of airplay all over the world from it, and especially in California, in America. And they especially liked the kind of more jangly stuff that we were doing and the birdsy kind of songs that we were doing, and that's why we got a lot of airplay over there. But in the last few years, we've been doing quite a lot of the mod festivals up and down the country. We've played at the Cavern in Liverpool 5 years running, which has been an absolute scream. We've been out there doing it for Cornwall.
Superb, mate. Superb.
We've been out there doing it. We've flown under, because we're an older band, we tend to fly under a lot of the kind of more trendy music people's radar down here. Although they all know us and they're all very respectful of our musicianship and our ability to actually not just talk about doing things, but we actually go out there and do things. So we just keep ourselves to ourselves and quietly get on with it. And it was fantastic towards the end of last year, despite the lockdown, despite the fact that we hadn't been able to get out and promote the last album as much as we would have liked to have done. We still did a lot of virtual stuff. We promoted massively on radio, which has been king for us. At the end of last year, we got picked up by an American record label called Big Stir Records.
Okay.
And so we released our first single earlier on this year, and our first physical release on Big Stir Records. We're currently finishing a 5-track EP, which will be our first full exclusive on Big Stir Records. And I'm writing the songs for the band's 5th/6th album right now. Can't wait to get back to rehearsals and start knocking that material around. And we'll do it as soon as we're allowed to.
Sounds busy, mate. Absolutely busy.
It will be. It will be. I mean, I've hated this lockdown. It's been trying to play guitar with one arm tied behind your back. It's just awful.
Yeah. Did you find though that your writing, your songwriting, were you more productive during the lockdown, or was it a complete flat?
No. I listened to a lot of people have said. I mean, if you're a solo performer, it doesn't really make any difference at all. But if you're in a band and you're a real band, I can't see how you can say that you enjoyed, remotely recording, because we're a band, and when the 5 of us are in a room together, stuff happens, and that's the magic of recording. And I can't, although we get on with it and we do record remotely, I don't like it.
Fair enough.
I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan. Okay, yeah. So where you mentioned the Cavern, and Liverpool and all that sort of stuff. So whereabouts have you actually, as the viewers, performed then, mainly?
Well, mainly down here in the West Country, obviously, because that's where we're based. I live near Camborne. Dave Stone, the drummer, lives up in Mevagissey. Mark Watson's in Downderry near Polperro. Kevin, our bass player, is up in Saltash, and Carolyn, the band's other sort of second vocalist, she's up in Plymouth. So we're scattered right the way throughout Cornwall, with me being the farthest west.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, we've played. We've played down here. We play lots of little haunts down here. We've played at the old bakery over in Truro, and at the harbour. It's hard to remember all these places. We played there. Harbourside Inn in Charlestown. I don't know how we managed to fit in there, but we do. We always have a great time when we play there. And lots of other little haunts down here, and places in Plymouth and Torquay and Newton Abbot and Exeter. But also, as I said, we've played up in Liverpool, we've played in London, we've played all over the country. We've played up in County Durham and Newcastle, and
wow. Okay, brilliant.
Been quite far. And now with the hookup with the American record label, they're chomping at the bit to get us over in California. And I can't wait. It's an excuse to go and have a holiday and do like 6 or 7 gigs under the radar that the IRS can't get us for.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's really hard to play in America now. You used to be able to just jump on a plane and go, but you can't do that anymore.
Yes. Yeah. So have you got any sort of local shows lined up or in the pipeline?
No, nothing. We unfortunately, Carolyn was a bit poorly going into lockdown and has had to self-isolate right the way through it. So it's meant that the 5 of us getting together, even sneaking together in between time, which we did manage to get into the studio without Carolyn, but to rehearse, a man down or a woman down, it just didn't seem fair. So we've just halted things, focused on doing the EP and writing songs for the next album. And then as soon as we are actually properly allowed to go back, and which must be about now, rehearse again, then we'll be doubling up and every week and just going in and frantically rehearsing up and getting new songs. And this time we'll make an album that we can go out and promote.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, that's it, isn't it? Okay, let's do a daft question then. What's the most trouble you've ever gotten into?
Oh, God. What, with the police?
Whatever you want to
It's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult for all of us to get into trouble because Mark is an ex-copper. So we have to be good. We have to be good, The most trouble I've ever gotten into, I don't know. I
No,
can't give you
fair
an
play. It's one of them
too,
questions. It's one of them
too many,
questions. Yeah, yeah,
too
I get
many
it.
too many to recall, really,
Yeah, no, no, yeah, I get that. I get that.
without swearing.
Yes, yeah. So would there be anything you change in the music industry? You know, is there anything you would alter?
Yeah, I would make it compulsory that real instruments have to be used again,
Okay, brilliant.
and you should have to pass a test to be able to actually play them before you're allowed to go out in front of people.
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
I honestly, I'm not a big fan of what's going on at the moment. One of the reasons why this band is so heavily influenced by music from the 60s and the 70s is not because we're kind of boring old farts. It's because the music back then was just superior
Yeah,
to
I totally agree. Yeah,
superior to everything that I can make today's music. I can make that music. I can use Logic and Pro Tools just as good as any young musician can, but I don't feel anything.
yeah,
It doesn't do anything. It's repetitive. And
yeah.
you're cutting and pasting loops the whole time, and it's so boring. And if you listen to Radio 1 these days, which I don't much, but there are no dynamics in music anymore.
Yeah, you're hard pushed, aren't you, to work a difference out as to what you're listening to. You know,
No,
has the track changed, or do you know what I mean?
you just wouldn't know because
Yeah,
they're rooted in 4/4 and quantizing
yeah,
samples, pre-recorded samples. There's no dynamics. There's no natural dynamics. If you listen to James Brown, or you listen to Stevie Wonder, or you listen to the Rolling Stones, there's dynamics all over it, and that's what makes your hips,
yeah,
swing and shake.
yeah, yeah.
And today, and also so much lyrically is just so depressing. And do we really need that? When I say to people, when the five of us get together to rehearse, it's not just a rehearsal, it's an event. And we enjoy each other's company, and we go out and we take the mickey out of ourselves. We poke fun at ourselves because we're a bit older. And some of our music is serious, but we have a good laugh, like all the bands back in the 60s did. The Kinks and the Rolling Stones and the Who and the Small Faces and the Beatles. They didn't go out to depress people. They went out to give people a damn good time. And that's what we try to do, and get people on the floor and dance. When we go up to play at the Cavern, they absolutely love us up there because we get everybody out on the floor dancing. Just like it used to, and it's brilliant to be able to go to a venue like that and do what those great bands did back in the 60s, and not just get them out kind of trudging around their handbags, actually getting them to do the twist, and getting the older ones to teach the younger ones how to do the twist, and watching them love doing it. That is just great. That's what music is all about, connecting people up. And I think coming out of this lockdown, that's exactly what they need. I don't want to be listening to all that kind of depressing music about ganglands in London and all of that. If you don't like living there, don't live there. Move.
Yeah, get it. All right then. So imagine yourself. You're talking to, I don't know, a 15-year-old version of yourself. What bit of advice would you give yourself? You know what I mean?
Have more fun.
Love it.
Don't take yourself so seriously. Have more fun. And don't believe anything that anybody in the music business tells you, because it's not true. Even when you're successful. And also make sure you get your points. If you're lucky enough to get a record deal, make sure you get your points, because you have to get paid. You have to get paid. And I see a lot of young musicians now who look. Getting your music on Spotify and getting live streams and all the rest of it is great, but you don't make any money out of it. Unless you're Adele, unless you're Coldplay, you ain't going to make any money out of it. And selling physical media at gigs, you make more money doing that than you do waiting for,
stream money to come in,
100,000 streams. But at the end of the day, I know for a fact, as a writer and as an artist and as a signed artist, you just don't get paid very much money from it. It's pitiful. And there are plenty of people like Paul McCartney and Pete Townsend and, really very famous musicians. if you speak to them, they'll tell you exactly the same thing. It's really, really hard. The spontaneity of getting your music out there without a record company doing it for you, that's great, and that is brilliant. But I'm afraid there's no substitute for actually making a living out of it. And okay, back in, well, right up until kind of the late 90s, record companies were still doing that for artists, and it was quite elitist, but it worked.
Yeah.
And artists got paid. And in this lockdown period where artists haven't been able to go out and play live, you know, I know dozens of professional musicians who are now, you know, stacking shelves in Tesco's and driving lorries and delivering the post and doing other things because they don't have any material out there. If they're not in an original band, they don't have any material out there, and they can't make a living other than play live. And that long term, I don't think that can be sustainable. I think something has got to change. There has to be some sort of licensing brought in, because the internet companies now own music, and it's the poorer for it.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Totally.
Yeah, and not enough musicians are honest about it, and not enough care too much about the business side of it to actually talk to. So it's interesting you should ask me what I would ask my younger self. Learn more about the industry, learn how you're going to make a living from it. If you're passionate about it, and you've got record companies sniffing around you, or you've got managers and music PR people sniffing around you, telling you that your music is really good and you've got a good fan base and all the rest of it, then you have to use it to make money. And other than just touring all the time, which is, you know, great fun, but it's really hard work. You need to be able to make money from selling your music as well, and that doesn't seem to be happening very much anymore.
No, that's very true. So, given the choice, who would you most like to collaborate with on a personal level for you? Who would you love to collaborate with?
What big star?
Yeah, or it could be anybody. Yeah. Who?
Well, I think it'd have to be Paul McCartney.
Okay, Paul McCartney.
I mean, you know, if you're gonna collaborate with someone, it might as well be the best.
Yeah. I get that.
I kind of like, you know, I think Paul Weller would be fun as well. Although I think we'd probably punch each other's lights out. And Noel Gallagher as well. I think Noel Gallagher is a terrific songwriter. I know not everybody rates him, but I think he's a terrific songwriter. Absolutely, you know, some of his solo stuff is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But people like that.
Okay, lovely.
Paul McCartney would be my favorite though.
Yeah, I get. Yeah. Okay, final question. Everybody gets this question. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for you being here musically now?
Yeah, I'm lucky. I have a mentor, and his name's Colin Hanna, and he helped produce the band's last album. And aside from all my band members who are my best pals and who I respect with great love, Colin, who is kind of the band's sixth man, if you like. Yeah, he's the guy he's my go-to guy, and every time I write something, the same time as I send it to the band for their seal of approval, I always send it to Col as well, and he gives it to me honest as well. If he thinks it's a load of crap, he'll tell me.
Brilliant.
But if he thinks it's got legs, or he thinks I should do this with it, or I should change the tempo, and that was great. I would also mention, Craig, that we were really lucky a few years ago to work with a brilliant producer called Nigel Gray, who's sadly no longer with us, and we produced the band's previous album to the one that we've just released with Nigel. Nigel famously produced The Police, their first three albums, and we did that particular album with him over at his studio near St. Mawes, and it was what a journey that was, and how I'm an old boy, as I said, but my God, did I learn a lot in that 14 months that I worked with him. That was great, and I learned a lot about the Police as well, and Sting. That was really good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Paul, look, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for
Really
having me on.
lovely interview. I really, really enjoyed that. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, I hope your listeners and your lookers enjoyed it too, and just come and see us play when we're out there again. Visit us online and all the usual places. We look to see it. We look forward to giving everybody a good time. Get your dancing shoes on when you come and watch us.
Superb, mate. Paul, thank you so much, mate. You take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.